All right, we are now live and recording. My name is Alan Delaney, and so that we're not strangers, I'm going to do just a little introduction on myself so that you understand who I am and why I'm able to give a presentation on this material. I spent a lot of years in IT, worked for some very big companies, Home Depot, Target, Lowe's, Circuit City, a whole bunch of big companies like that, and we built networks. We built intranets and internet website applications to track assets. So I'm kind of used to that kind of world, and that's kind of why this whole idea of cryptocurrency and this technology sort of really appealed to me. So my goal here tonight is simply education. That's it. This isn't a sales pitch. This is an educational seminar. Whether or not you decide to be involved in what we're doing is your own decision to make. My goal, however, is to educate you enough that either A, you're intrigued, B, you're just absolutely ready to go, or C, give you some additional education if you're already involved that you may not know. So I like to start out with this particular slide, Join the Financial Revolution, because that's really what's happening here. And I really want to kind of set the stage and create a context for our conversation this evening. So let's start with a question. All right. And this seems like a silly question, but it's not really. What is the internet anyway? Right? Well, we all know what the internet is. Now we all understand the internet, right? But it wasn't too long ago, in fact, around 1994, that none of us really knew what the internet was. Imagine the millennials. Imagine those of us with kids. I have a 23-year-old daughter. Trust me, she cannot imagine a life without the internet. But many of us on this phone call had it. But here's what it was like, just a short, about 45-second video that kind of draws the context here, and this is important.
I wasn't prepared to translate that as I was doing that little tease.
Oh, that's
that little mark with the A and then the ring around it.
At.
See, that's what I said. Kay said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
But I'd never heard it. I'd never heard it said. I'd always seen the mark, but never heard it said. And then it sounded stupid when I said it. Violence at NBC.
I heard it around big fight in the lunchroom the other week.
There it is. Violence at NBC. GE.com. I mean,
well, Allison should know.
What is internet anyway?
Internet is that massive computer network, the one that's becoming really big now.
What do you mean? That's big? How does one? What do you write to it like mail?
No, a lot of people use it and communicate. I guess they can communicate with NBC writers and producers. Allison, can you explain what internet is?
How about that, guys? Not too long ago, nobody really knew what was in front of them except some of the brightest minds in the world would see the opportunity there. So here's the deal. Even this guy, scientist Clifford Stoll, 1995 in Newsweek, he wrote an article called Why the Internet Will Fail. Gee, missed the mark a little bit on that one, didn't we, Clifford? All right, but the idea here is I'm going to share something with you tonight that you may not be familiar with. The context that I'm drawing here is that what I'm going to share with you is bigger than the internet was back in the day. It's called blockchain and cryptocurrency, and let's move forward and kind of create just a little bit more context, because we all do understand the internet now. It's certainly pervasive in all of our lives. But here's another question. How many great ideas and new technologies have actually influenced your life that you didn't even know about or wouldn't even been able to imagine just a few short years ago? Well, let's talk about them, because most of them involve that thing called the internet. And the first one is Tim Berners-Lee. He's the guy who invented a protocol called HTTP. That is what we know as the World Wide Web. That stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. You see it at the beginning of every web address. Without that, there wouldn't be any web. August 6, 1991, this guy changes the world. A Swede, by the way. July 5th, 1994, Jeff Bezos, owner of Amazon, starts a little company in his garage with the funding from his parents called Cadabra. That would later turn into Amazon. Jeff Bezos himself today is worth over $65 billion. Good idea, running on a protocol called the internet, right? How about Google? September 4th, 1998, Larry Page, Sergey Brin. They would absolutely change the way that search algorithms were written forever. You guys remember websites like Yahoo, which is still out there, of course, and other search engines. Well, when Google came along, they created a new search algorithm. And that search algorithm would put them in the position that they're in today. Their net worth is unknown to me, all right? How about February 4th, 2004, Mark Zuckerberg? He creates something called Facebook, originally designed to allow people at Harvard to communicate with each other around campus. What's he worth today? Who knows? I think 38 billion at the last mark. Now look, Facebook has become so popular that if it were a nation, there are so many members, it would be the third largest nation in the world. I mean, how many times do you check your Facebook account each and every day? It's become, again, a pervasive technology throughout our lives. And of course, who could forget about Apple and Steve Jobs creating the mobile computing platform? Yeah, we call them phones, but that's not really what it is. You see, in June 29th, 2007 is when the iPhone was introduced, but it was before that that Steve Jobs had the vision to tell his engineers to create a touch screen phone. That is now a mobile computing device, and I would say that as a platform for developing applications is substantially more important than the laptop or PC. It has absolutely changed the game for many. But we're going to talk about one more thing here. How did all those companies get such an edge on the market? How did they do it? Well, they got it through mass social acceptance. You see, if you have a great idea or a good invention or something that massive social acceptance can be gained, then you're going to succeed. And the next one in line is the banking and finance industry, without a doubt. So let's move on from there. Traditional banking, you might ask, why? I mean, banks are just there, right? They've been a part of our life. We used to go with our parents, stand in the line, and all that kind of thing. But you see, we live in a different world right now, and banks are still, well, they're doing all of that. So they're facing a lot of challenges. What are some of those challenges? Well, number one, they're not delivering on the level of service that customers are expecting these days. Again, we live in a different world than we used to, especially as it relates to technology. Okay, these are giant institutions that can't turn on a dime. The regulatory requirements causing banks to spend unbelievable amounts of discretionary budget on building systems and processes to keep up with the escalating requirements are causing their fees to go through the roof. Who do you think pays for that? The customer dissatisfaction, I just said it, the abusive fees for services such as monthly maintenance and transfer fees, they're at an all-time high. Well, they're at an all-time high because of number two there. But there is a number one reason that traditional banking is facing many challenges. One could sum it up in a few words called we don't need it anymore. But here's the real reason. The increasing competition from financial technology companies, otherwise known as fintechs. All right, it is disrupting the way that the traditional bank or traditional banking and finance has been done. It creates a big challenge for these banks because, again, they're too huge to make the change. They're too entrenched in the fractional reserve lending system and all of that to make the move. So what do? Well, we start watching the trends and we start saying, well, where could this go? Where is this going? Where's that World Wide Web trend that maybe some of us caught on to? Well, here's somebody who knows. Her name is Catherine Besant. She's the Chief Operations and Technology Officer from Bank of America, and listen to what she has to say.
How infant are you on blockchain?
Well, blockchain is very intriguing, and for us, it's a balance between not wanting to be Neanderthal, but not wanting to put something out in a commercial application where the commercial application is still very unclear. As a technologist, the technology is fascinating. And we have tried to stay on the forefront. I think we have somewhere around 15 patents. Most people would be surprised. A Bank of America with patents in the blockchain or cryptocurrency space. Very important in the intellectual property world to reserve our spot even before we know what the commercial application might be. So very intrigued technologically, but what's the commercial application?
Some blockchain developers are skeptical. They say actually big business don't understand what we're doing. They don't understand the practical applications. And as you say, you're kind of getting in there early. You put your hands on it, even if you don't understand actually what you have your hands on.
Well, the first definition of a Neanderthal is denial, right? So the whole idea would be not to start from that perspective.
All right, so I want you guys to pay close attention to a couple of things that she said there. We're going to get in front of this wave even if we don't fully understand it. She knows it's coming. They know it's coming. A lot of people know that it's coming. The idea here is that you learn enough about this, whether it's from me here this evening or by doing your own research, because there's plenty of it out there, that you not miss the opportunity to be in front of what is going to be the largest disruption in the history of the world for any of us that are alive on this phone call. Look at the other players that are involved in this. Goldman Sachs, Barclays, UBS, it goes on. I mean, Bank of England, Citi, Fidelity, and there's something that I'm going to park here for just 1 second and explain something to you, okay? When the internet first came out, it was a public forum, right? I mean, the internet's public. You can go to any web address you want. Okay, do you think that when I was working for, a client, when I was a consultant for Chick-fil-A, let's say, and we were working with their maintenance department, that the applications that we built were accessible to the public? No, they were not. They were on what was called an intranet. In other words, there's the internet public, there's intranets that large companies like GM and other Fortune 50, Fortune 500 companies use in order to leverage the technology. So when you hear about a Citigroup or a Fidelity or a Goldman Sachs using blockchain, they're not talking about Bitcoin's blockchain. All right, they're talking about a private walled environment, just like the intranet. Again, I'm trying to draw some context here so this makes sense to you what I'm going to talk about in just a few minutes. All right, we are a private blockchain here in the One Life Network and at OneCoin. It is no different. Goldman Sachs is a private blockchain. They're not going to hang out all these clearing things out in the public. There's no need for it. The technology can exist both in public and in private, and that's a correlation that I want to draw for you. So why is there so much interest in this new technology? Well, why does big business have an interest in anything? It's called money. In this case, an untapped market. Do you realize that with the traditional banking methods, that there are over 2.3 billion people that can't take advantage of banking services in the world, many right here in our own country? Alan, what are you talking about? They can't walk into a bank and actually get an account? No, they can't. And why is that? All right, well, the Global Findex database says this. Number one, lack of enough money to actually have an account, right? I mean, fees, if you don't have enough money, most of these, like Bank of America, charges $15 a month. A lot of people, don't have that money, as sad as that sounds. How about this? Distance to actually get to the financial institution. Now, we may not be talking about here, us in the U.S., but in some third world or developing nations, that is a huge problem. So they don't have a need for it. We already talked about, prohibitive costs and fees and maintenance fees and everything else. So what's the point? A lot of people use the old bank a mattress or bank a shoebox or whatever they want to do with their money, and an overall lack of trust in the banking system and the devaluation, in other words, the hyperinflation that most fiat currencies are experiencing in today's world. I mean, think back just a little bit. The run on banks in Greece, nobody could get any money. Cyprus, even Italy. It can happen anywhere because, frankly, fiat currency is nothing more than a promissory note. It's not backed by anything. So here is why you should pay attention. Here's why you should care. This is Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, twins, obviously. They're also co-founders of the Gemini Exchange, which is a cryptocurrency exchange on the internet. And they had this to say. Of course, you guys might know these guys also. They had a little something to do with Facebook, or so they say. And I quote, "It's the smartest people in the room that are most excited about this." So what are they seeing? Again, this is people looking for trends, following, cause and effect. If you want what someone has, do what someone does. They see these people that I'm about to introduce you to as brilliant minds, some of the greatest thought leaders in the world, and they're excited about blockchain. They're excited about payment systems, and they're excited about cryptocurrency. How about Sir Richard Branson? He's the founder of the Virgin Group, Virgin Atlantic Airways, Virgin Atlantic Records, Virgin Spaceships, Virgin this, that, and the other thing. He's even got his own Virgin Island, right? Says, "It feels strange to think of a world without cash, no more notes or coins to find down the back of a sofa, but it appears That's the way things are heading. How about Ben Bernanke? You think he knows a thing or two about printing money? He was the former Federal Reserve Chairman. Virtual currencies may hold long-term promise, particularly if the innovations promote a faster, more secure, and more efficient payment system. And we can't talk about technology thought leaders without talking about Mr. Bill Gates. In the future, financial transactions will be digital. Why wouldn't they be? Everything else is universal and almost free. Listen, guys, there's been a few different internets even in our short life. All right. There was the internet of information, where really all you could do is go to somebody's website and read a bunch of stuff. Okay. Then there was the internet of exchange. Now there's the internet of value. Okay. The internet of things. Now the internet of value. If we can transfer everything else digitally, why can't we do the same thing with money? Well, that time is now. And if you've paid attention at all, you understand that it's very easy to transmit money digitally, all right? Even countries are getting on board. Sweden is down to just 3% of the national economy doing cash transactions. Kenya, probably one of the best use cases for digital payment systems with its M-Pesa cashless payment system, has over 19 million subscribers and now has spread to over 5 countries. Canada hasn't printed any money since January 1st and have vowed not to print any more money. We don't need it with the technology that we have now. Do you understand that? We used to need it. There was no internet, right? A dollar bill is just a way to carry around a serial number, isn't it? That's all that thing is. It's just a way to carry around a serial number. We don't need a piece of paper to carry around a serial number, do we? Not anymore. All right, so we're going to talk about why that is with a little bit about the evolution of money. Used to be about precious metals, gold, silver. From there, we went to paper coins and money. Again, those paper coins that paper money has a serial number on it. That's all that it is really anymore. Then we went to credit and debit cards. Hey, those are digital. Do you see money with those? No, you don't. All you're doing is adjusting ledgers. And where do those ledgers live? On those private intranets that are connected to an internet that we know. All right, from there, we go to online payment systems, PayPal, Pop Money, Rocket Pays, Venmo, even Facebook with their Facebook Messenger app has gotten into the game. All right, so that you can transfer money, again, digitally. All right, we got digital wallets, Google Wallet, Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, we got Android Pay. There's probably a few that I'm not mentioning here. Now, the last three, all right, the digital wallets, online payment systems, debit cards, and credit cards all have one thing in common. They're tied to a bank. They're still tied to a bank. So how do we break away from that? Well, we do by creating a money that is a money created with a fixed set of rules called cryptocurrency that doesn't need a bank because it's backed by mathematics. So here's the big question. This all sounds kind of weird, Alan. So what exactly is a blockchain? And what the heck is cryptocurrency? And these are questions that I just can't answer in a few short sentences. You guys are going to have to leave this webinar, and you're going to have to, if you're interested in this, you're going to have to do a little bit more research or call the person that invited you to this call and get some more questions answered. But I'm going to do my best in a very short period of time to try and explain what these things are. So the first of its kind was Bitcoin, created October 31st, 2008 by a man named Satoshi Nakamoto. That would be not his real name. His real name was Craig Smith, I believe. Wasn't Japanese at all. And contrary to popular belief, did not create the fortune cookie, right? This guy was actually an Australian businessman. And Bitcoin's blockchain was the first thing. I want you to look at a blockchain like an operating system, right? Like Windows is an operating system. Word is an app. Excel is an app, right? Well, the blockchain is an operating system that runs on the internet, either public or private. Cryptocurrency is the first app to run on that operating system. So it was created to provide an alternative to the banking system. Unlike most currencies, like I just said, it's issued according to a fixed set of rules. What does that mean? What that means is, like in 2008, when bailouts needed to happen because people were writing themselves bigger bonuses than their companies could afford, and they put their companies in peril, that you couldn't just go whimpering to the government and the Federal Reserve and ask for a bailout. No, no, no. That's not how this works. It's a fixed set of rules. So what happens when all that new money is introduced, printed from thin air, into our economy? Well, it hurts me and you and everybody else on this call. That's what happens. That's called hyperinflation. You see, our government a long time ago in 1971 went away from the gold standard. And when they did that, they made a promise not to overprint our money. Oops. So the idea behind this was to create a money whose value could not be manipulated by a central authority. Now that's Bitcoin, right? So how is this stuff created? Well, a lot of people have called it digital gold, and there's a reason for that, because how you create it is through a process called mining. It's mined like gold, all right? Now that doesn't mean that a guy goes into a cave with a pickaxe. It's digital mining. There's a cyber mine, as my friend Carl likes to say, which I love the term, because that's exactly what it is. All right, we're not mining with pickaxes. We're mining with algorithms. We're mining with repetitive algorithms that are designed to solve very, very complicated math problems. When those problems are solved effectively, if you happen to be the lucky one that does that, cryptocurrency is then generated. But it's generated based on that fixed set of rules, and there's a finite amount. So why in the world would this new digital money, this new virtual currency called cryptocurrency, be a better way? Well, number one, it's more secure. It's just as simple as that. All right, I don't know. I heard this term the other day, and even though I have a high-tech background, I'm not sure what this number means, but it's secured to the exaflop. And I love the word because it's such a trip. But the reality of it is I was told that the cryptography surrounding cryptocurrency is so strong that it would take all the computers till the end of the universe to be able to hack it even once. And even at that, it would only be valid for 10 minutes because of the time that the blockchain, at least that it runs. Our new blockchain is going to run every minute, so it's even harder to hack than that. There's only a fixed amount of it. We already talked about why that's an advantage. You can't copy it. It's not like an MP3 file that exists, where people can copy and pirate and do all that. This stuff is counterfeit proof. All right. It allows for peer-to-peer transacting. Holy smokes, what does that mean? Person to person, business to business, no middleman, and it has little to negligible fees. All right. Try sending money, and we all know about this on this phone line, using Western Union or MoneyGram. Try sending cross-border remittances or transfers using that product. Do you think when you pay a fee, an exorbitant amount of money to do that, that if there were a system that would allow for negligible to little fees, that it might not hold some interest? Of course it would. So these are just some of the reasons why cryptocurrency is coming and is a better idea. So here's a question. Why can't just one person mine all of the currency? How is it that this can be distributed fairly? Well, the process is called a difficulty factor, and here's how it works. Okay? It's all in the difficulty factor. And the difficulty factor gets adjusted based on the amount of computing power or tokens submitted to the mining process. This means that the mathematical problems get harder and harder to solve. It's like this. If you were in an Easter egg hunt and you were the only one in the hunt, chances of you finding all the eggs would be pretty good. But if you were in that same Easter egg hunt with 100 other people, are you going to find every egg? No, you're not, because the hunt difficulty got greater with the more people that joined the fray, right? And that's exactly what happens in mining. The more people that become involved in the cryptocurrency that you're involved with and are throwing computing power at this or token time at this, it gets harder and harder to solve. And that's by design, because we all know that if you could walk out in your front yard and pick up gold bars or gold nuggets or gold rocks or gold whatever, it wouldn't be worth very much, would it? The scarcity is built into this idea. Unlike our own dollars, that we have right now that have been overprinted and introduced into the economy, this doesn't work that way. And that's why we have been able to witness an upward trend all the way across the board. Now, in 2009, Bitcoin, again, the originator, was valued at just 10 cents. But through this mining process, more and more people started to mine coins. As that went on, by 2013 November, one coin was valued at $1,242.03. Again, how are we looking if at 10 cents we managed to get our hands on some of these, and at $1,242 we managed to get rid of some of these? That would be fantastic, wouldn't it? This actually, Bitcoin is and still continues to be the most talked about financial gain in the history of that kind of thing, right? Bigger than stocks, bigger than bonds, bigger than commodities, bigger than everything. Now, it's a very volatile world in Bitcoin, and we're trying to take steps necessary to control that, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit. So who are the top players? Of course, there was only one. It was called Bitcoin. I clipped out 10 top players here from a website, and you'll notice that Bitcoin, through market capitalization, is the number one. Then you've got OneCoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Litecoin, and the list goes on. I really want to focus on just two of them, though. Bitcoin, the industry leader, and our very own coin that we are all mining called OneCoin. Through market capitalization. Now, here's the thing. Bitcoin's been around a while. I showed you that date, right? Through market cap, they're over $9.6 billion in market cap. Their coin value today was worth $609 a coin. Very, very good. The 10-cent people are still ecstatic if they're hanging on to that, right? There's over 15.8 million of these things in circulation currently. And yes, they are spendable. You can donate to the United Way. You can do all kinds of different things. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands. Somebody said somewhere around 1,000 to even greater number of vendors that are already on board with accepting cryptocurrency. Amazon, Overstock.com, and several others. But look at the one that's in the number 2 spot by market capitalization. And this is all about to change on October 1st, I believe. But in just basically in 2 short years, it hasn't even quite been that much yet, I don't think. It's $6.5 billion in market capitalization with a coin that's just worth $7.78 instead of $609. What does that mean? Well, that means the regular Joe can still play in this ball game, right? Because let's face it, if you bought one Bitcoin, that's $609. All right, how many one coins with a great upward curve can you get if they're valued at $7.78? Well, the idea here is that you can mine a valued coin that continues to grow, because this is a coin for everybody, and that's why we're excited about what we have our hands on. All right, this is our owner. Her name is Dr. Ruja Ignatova. She was born in Sofia, Bulgaria, raised in Germany. She actually married a German attorney. She has a law degree herself. She's a member of the Mensa Society. She has a master's degree in economics from Constance University, a PhD in law from the University of Oxford and Constance. She wrote a thesis on corporate litigation within the European Union, and she was a former associate partner consultant with McKinsey and Company. I urge you to go to their website. Just Google it. That's what we do, right? We don't search stuff. We Google it, turned it into a verb. And you can go to the McKinsey website, and there's a picture of her there, right? You can read some of her papers and some of her work. It's legit. She was also a CEO and CFO of one of the biggest asset management funds in the country of Bulgaria, with over 250 million euro assets under management. Bright lady, knows a lot about finance. She's written a couple of books on cryptocurrency. She's consulted on a few others, and decided that it was time that she fixed everything that she thought could use some improvement. Sorry about the English there. With cryptocurrency. So she created her own coin. Financial IT Magazine, all right? She made the cover of that magazine. It's a great magazine covering the latest trends in payment and cash transaction management, subscribed to by over 2,000 different banks and financial institutions. Now, here's a story that you need to know. Not everybody has been thrilled about OneCoin. Why is that? Well, I tried to draw that context earlier. You see, when Bitcoin first came out, it was very public, very anonymous, very dark webbish, right? We all know that, all right? And they want to keep it that way. We, on the other hand, or Dr. Ruja Ignatova, knows that that's not how you're going to get what? Mass social acceptance. You're certainly not going to get it from the people that run the world called the banks and governments. So we came up with a better way. And after Chris Principe had a sit-down interview with her, this is what he had to say about her and the company. OneCoin is leading the charge of acquiring the masses into the cryptocurrency shift across the globe. They're doing an amazing job at taking what normally is the complicated idea of cryptocurrency and making it ultra simple and easy to understand so anyone can get involved and profit from it. That is an amazing statement when you really understand blockchain and mining for cryptocurrency, what we've done with this company, and I'm proud to be a part of it. Even major universities are training our youth, all right, the people that are going to be running this world, Duke, Stanford, NYU, University of Maryland, MIT, Princeton University, all charging anywhere from 13,000 USD to 18,000 USD per course. Why would they be doing that? I don't know. I'm going to leave it to your imagination, right? Because it's coming. This is how we're going to spend money going forward. There is no need any longer for anything other than digital money. And education is our product too. You can visit our website, one of three, at www.oneacademy.eu. It's available in over 231 countries. We already have over 1.7 million students. It's available in 20 languages. There's over 1,800 minutes of video and 18 individual trainings. There's even a One Academy app that you can get from the App Store or from Google Play. And as you can see, these are just some of our educational packages. And as you can see, from free to 27,500 euro, we've got something for everybody. I urge you to go read about these packages so that you can find out exactly what they are and pick the one that best suits your needs and desires. All right. So here's a sneak peek at what's included. You get a dashboard overview of everything that's going on inside your account. You get account management that keeps track of coins, coin safe, tokens, in, out, and all that kind of stuff. There's a news and update section so that you can keep track of what Bitcoin is trading at, all the latest security reminders and things like that. There's a private exchange where once you've learned what you need to do to trade a cryptocurrency, you can go in and you can use our private exchange to buy, sell, trade your very own digital assets called OneCoins. And of course, there's educational tracking through our One Academy courseware. So there's a lot here that you get with your educational package. And we continue to have an upward trend, as you can see here. All right, that last bar representing September. When I got involved in this idea, I got involved around the $1.78 mark. That was June 30th of last year. I didn't really start paying too much attention until September the 13th of 2015. Now, as you guys can look, there's no price guarantee implied here. It's for illustration purposes only, but this is exactly what has happened month over month to its current position this afternoon at 5 o'clock when I clip these numbers at $7.78. So again, the time to act is now. I want to talk to you about a very special package that we have. It's the most sought after one because it offers the most trading value. It contains 5 of the One Academy educational models. This is called the Tycoon Plus Trader. Now, it may or may not be right for you. Please get back with the person that invited you to the call to find out whether or not this fits what you want to do. It contains, though, 81,818 promotional tokens. All right, those are the things that allow you to mine for digital assets. Remember I said tokens earlier? Tokens basically equal time on the servers, which gives you a reward for a proof of work type of mining process that we go through. Additionally, right now, there's a 10% bonus on those tokens until September 30th. It includes our exclusive auto mining feature, meaning that really it's kind of like a green egg smoker, right? You put the ribs in it and you just forget about it. That's how this mining works as well, right? It's easy. It's one button push mining. Anyone can do it. And it provides, as I said earlier, an optimized trading experience because there's so many tokens. It also includes splitting of those tokens and so on and so forth. I don't want to get too technical with everybody on this call. This is meant to be easy on the brain. Make sure that you get back to the person that invited you to the call to get further explanation. So what's most important that you understand here is our vision, because it's the vision that is going to, in the end game, be most important. Not necessarily what the rise curve is or how much the coin is worth, but to have 19 million subscribers like M-Pesa to this currency, and I'm holding a whole bunch of it, is exciting to me. And our vision is this: to provide financial services for everyone, not just the established nations of the world, but to the impoverished and underdeveloped nations of the world. In other words, those that don't necessarily have access to what we take for granted every single day, and that's banking and finance tools to help them dig out of poverty. So I'm excited about it. It's offered through onecoin.eu, onelife.eu, and oneacademy.eu. I suggest you visit those sites and do your own research. I want to thank everybody for watching this presentation here this evening. I hope it's been informational. Remember that OneCoin as a cryptocurrency is unique, it's safe, global, without risk of inflation. This is the future of money. Thanks again, guys, for watching.